ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL CEO, Mr. Zach Stanley.
We're going to talk about a special person on the show today.
Okay, when did we get a Brit in here?
He's actually a Brit.
Yeah, when did we get a Brit in here? All right, Teddy Bear 2, Nick Steblenko, please, do better.
Please what?
Do better than that.
No, I'm sorry, John. I'm over the hill.
Are you?
Yep.
That's interesting.
Sean Hill has been thrust into an unbelievable opportunity.
Are we talking about like players on the pitch right now? What's going on here? Is this turned into a football broadcast?
I don't know. That was two. Do you got a tray in you?
Ooh, that was a good one.
That was nice.
All right, as you can tell by the ridiculously awful puns given forth by the Star Fantasy League's crew, me not included because I don't take part in such tomfoolery.
Because you just don't care, Rington.
No, that was bad.
You just don't care, Rington.
We get to talk about another Zach today.
Yeah, we do. You only like Zachs that are spelled correctly though. He doesn't have a C or an H or a K. He just has a C.
If you draft Eddie Lacy and Zach Stacy, you'll be in good shape.
Yes, I don't know if you were trying to do something funny with that.
Lacey and Stacy.
Yeah, no, I get that part, but that's actually good.
Do you get it?
That's sound strategy. That's not a pun.
Brit.
All right, today.
Do you get it or do you need Mo?
Brit.
Today we just need to get right into this show because there's a lot going on, a lot of camp news and notes because most teams played their final preseason game last night. A lot of news to talk about from that. Finally, the NFL got it right. We'll be talking about a nice little policy change there. Also, we're going to be breaking down the end of Mock Draft Monday. Yes, that's right. We somehow got an entire week of mock drafting out of one mock draft. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And also, we got to talk about StarFantasyLeagues.com offering season-long fantasy to go along with our Week 1 slate for daily fantasy.
We are making enormous gains right now.
Enormous gains, yes.
Enormous EJ gains.
God, you are just stop it.
That's pretty good.
That was pretty good, but
Not bad.
not when we're plugging StarFantasyLeagues.com. You're not allowed to pun there.
What do you mean?
We're the best. We don't need puns.
It was a positive pun.
Rise above.
There are positive puns there.
Rise above. All right, let's get right into it. I mentioned off the top that a certain policy change is bringing about some kudos from this team right here. And I'm assuming the entire NFL. Roger Goodell finally getting it right with this domestic abuse thing. He actually was quoted as saying, "I didn't get it right," and that's an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, this is all good and well, but I still think that they could have gotten ahead of this.
10 years ago?
They could have gotten out in front of
How
this.
about 10 years ago?
Sure.
This is ridiculous. I mean, the culture of violence that has gone on in the NFL over the past few decades is egregious, and it's great that there's finally some progress on it. I'm sure we're all thankful that it's going to be this way now, but this is way late for the NFL.
Too little, too late.
They dropped the ball. Clearly, they haven't been looking at these different items for years on how they pertain. Forget football culture to our culture as a whole.
Yeah, I've said this a couple of times that I feel that the NFL has many opportunities to get out in front of a problem, and they don't. And this is just another example of it. And, you can look to concussions, domestic violence, drug use, drug abuse.
Well, they're still not out ahead of that.
They're not. They just don't get to it until it really pertains to them, or really it could show a negative effect on them, and then they just try to save face.
And I'm also wondering what's going to happen with all of these different domestic violence cases that we've seen over time. I mean, you could call domestic, some sort of domestic dispute. There's all different things that can occur here. Where is the line? How do you say, you have to wait for the courts to process what actually happens and prove that that there's a guilty party here? Mm-hmm. How does it all fall into place? Because 6 games, when you get, a case of domestic abuse or what, that could go both ways. There's so many variations to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we use the Ray Rice example, the court systems had really already finished because they didn't ever really reach a trial. They settled out of court, and then that's when the NFL steps in. Now we look to I know it's a different scenario, but Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blount, we're not going to get anything out of that probably until next season because
they've
of the
been
fact
doing
that they're actually going to go through it.
Yeah, they've been doing that. Usually you can assume a suspension, but after they push the trial up, so if the trial happens after the season, they're just going to keep pushing it forward. Well, they're not going to get suspension until next year.
I feel that that's right, though, because in this country, you really should be innocent until proven guilty. So I do think that's right. At least let them go through the court systems. It's just like your own employer, where if you're actually convicted of a crime, then they can do something about it. But you really shouldn't do anything before the fact because then you're just assuming too much.
Well, here on the Star Fantasy League show, you're guilty. Not until proven you're just guilty.
Well,
and
we are the court of public opinion.
We fire people on this show at least once a week. Anytime you go missing, we fire you. So.
Yep, that's true.
But you're back. Reinstatement after 1 year.
It's okay. I mean, I survived the wilderness out there. I made it back, and then it pretty much stole my chair back.
Yeah, that is. Well, it's not hard to fight Jason off.
We're not going to let Seth on again, I don't think.
No.
He just doesn't know.
Although to be fair, we do have to say a nice congratulations. We're gonna have a new member to fill in from the bullpen coming in a week or so.
Seth's having a baby.
What?
Oh no!
Wow, I'm not even gonna mention that. Since
I didn't even know he was pregnant.
You took that so off
topic. They're having a baby.
No, just Seth. He adopted a baby by himself.
Wow.
He was drunk one night. He just did it.
Oh, yeah, that's a great parent.
He ordered one online. No big deal.
Oh, nice.
All right, we need to talk about all these preseason games that happened last night. Especially, we should have let off with this, but the domestic abuse thing was kind of important. But the Buffalo Bills had their final preseason game. Zach's making a face I can't even describe. He seems disgusted, and you should.
So is Doug Marrone going to get called in under this new domestic abuse thing? Because he really is just abusing his players
he beat
right
them.
now.
Yeah.
This is brutal.
I am pretty perturbed by the fact that Sammy Watkins was on the field last night.
Okay, not only was he on the field, but he got another rib injury. We said, okay, the first rib injury, not a worry, but if you have the same rib injury, ribs don't heal that quickly.
Is there a break? I mean, did we find out if there's an actual report here? I mean, if he broke a rib,
he's in
that's
trouble.
Unbelievable. That's just terrible.
Yeah, everything that went. I mean, we don't have the update yet on what his condition is going to be going into week one.
You can assume he's going to try to play week one.
Yeah, I would think that. Given, I mean, it didn't seem like, it was too awful, but.
Well, I mean, that pass from EJ.
It was another misled pass from EJ Manuel, who has not shown anything good so far in the preseason. A couple flashes in camp, but when I start seeing things like EJ Manuel looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL published. It's very discouraging.
I always like to urge Buffalo fans to at least keep a positive spin on things until the season plays out. If by week 10, 12, somewhere around there, EJ Manuel really hasn't shown any improvement, no strides, then we can start talking about, okay, is he really the quarterback of the future? But I feel like all of that talk is very premature.
I dream the Bills. Isn't that awful? I think about the Bills so much. I dream about them. I just remembered right now that last night I had a dream that EJ Manuel didn't play 5 full complete games last year. He played 10. So now looking at where he's at now, it's not nearly as good because he had 10 chances to do it last year. But thank goodness I woke up and realized that was not the case. Because if it was 10 games, I'd be like, ship this guy out.
Were you thinking about Jeff Toole? Was that your problem?
So you don't even dream of partying with the players? You just dream of how horrible the situation is?
No, Zach's been trying to find Sammy Watkins for the past month and a half. He's actually been trying to prospect where he's going at night so he can go have a drink with him. That's actually a thing that's happened.
Do you have a bulletin board?
Yep.
All the possibilities.
Reported sightings of Sammy Watkins are on Zach's board.
It's he's like an investigator.
I think
Jason told me the other week he was dreaming about his draft.
That's really weird.
And when we're if there's anything going on with the site that we're concerned about at Star Fantasy Leagues, I usually dream about that stuff too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Work-related things.
Dreaming worst-case scenarios often happens.
All right, we need to move on. The Buffalo Bills, what's your comfort level with the Bills right now? 10 being really comfortable, 1 being extremely worried. Where are you at?
2.
I'm at about a 4.
Oof. As a non-Buffalo...
I've dipped below the 5. I've dipped below the midpoint because of this.
As a non-Buffalo Bills fan, obviously, I can be objective here. I'm going to say it's probably about 4 or 5 is where Buffalo Bills fans
because
should be at.
Because I think that the potential is still there. It's just that if Marrone really screwed this up and he injured his number 1 pick in the draft, then that's what dips me below.
Yeah,
here.
it depends on what the news that comes
we
out.
we got to see.
All right, here's a big question. If EJ Manuel is as bad in the regular season as he's been in the preseason and flashes of last year, what does that do to the fantasy value of CJ Spiller, Fred Jackson, Woods, Watkins, those guys?
I think those guys are good no matter what. I really do.
The running backs
I think
or
Fred
everybody?
Fred Jackson is a handoff guy.
I think the running backs are all set for the most part. If he ends up doing worse and they end up not having the kind of confidence in him to go out there and make throws, then they're just going to get more touches.
Yep.
And dump downs,
Sammy Watkins, I'm just concerned all around right now
absolutely.
for his fantasy
Well,
prospects.
now, okay, so Doug Whaley, this is his second season, right?
Yes.
Okay, so he didn't really, or did he draft? He was the one that drafted EJ Manuel.
Correct.
Yeah, last season, yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I don't know that you're going to see them replace Manuel at all.
Oh, I
for the
don't
next
want.
2
I
years.
don't. Well, I certainly don't want them to even think about putting in.
But you know that they're going to
Tool
call
this year.
But the fans are going to call for it.
Why?
I don't know why.
Yeah, why?
I don't know why. But you know the fans are going to make noise.
I don't know that.
I do. Oh my goodness, I do.
It has to be bad.
Yeah,
really
well, I
bad.
agree. I agree with
Let's
you.
say,
but
hold on.
it does happen.
Did the
It
Jets?
has to be. Well, yeah. I mean, like I have heard some people in camp when I was there saying, put in Tool, give Tool more snaps.
No,
it's like,
that's
no,
ridiculous.
this is
That
it's
is ridiculous.
unbelievable.
I was going to say,
It's absurd.
Did the Jets, once they put in Geno Smith last year, did they call for a backup? Sure, but are you going to put in a backup? No, you're supposedly trying out this guy.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to happen. But so often, don't you see coaches listen to the fans and they just screw it all up?
No, it's not coaches that listen to the fans. I think it's front office and management.
Well, somebody does.
It's
That
trickling.
pressure the coaches.
It's trickling down to the coaches.
I don't think that there's a chance that this season we'll get in a situation like that.
All right.
Maybe
I
know
with
that
you.
I'm going to hear some fan comments.
I was gonna say, hold
I
on.
hope that that's not the case.
Your worry level is at a 2, yet you don't think these horrible things from the fans are going to trickle down. It's going to happen at some point. At least the rumblings, if he's playing poorly through like 4 or 5 weeks.
It has to be so bad. Yeah, there will always be rumblings for what fans think should happen because they're desperate. But this guy needs a full year under his slate to see what he's capable of.
Agreed.
He needs to grow. This is not the year that we're going to say, is E.J. Manuel going to be a starting quarterback?
It's the same thing that's my same argument with Geno Smith. The same exact thing. I don't think that he is a stellar quarterback right now. I think these guys need time to develop, and people are so impatient that they don't allow it to happen, and they never give these guys a fair shot.
I think that was the most enlightening thing that Nick has ever said on the Star Fantasy League show. He said,
Well,
what was
if
it?
you
What was it?
listen to
Geno
me-
Smith's not very good? Was that what you said?
If you listen to what I'm saying instead of twisting my words like you just did,
All right,
maybe you'd learn
coming up after
something.
the break, we're talking more news and notes from the final week of preseason, and we're also talking the St. Louis Rams. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Donald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
All right, listeners, we are back, and I swear John's mailbag will return sometime next week around the kickoff. We're doing 32 teams in 32 days on the Star Fantasy League show. No show on Monday because that kind of holiday where nobody works, right? Right? Nobody works on Monday.
what is it?
Labor Day?
Oh, I thought you meant Wednesday. You know, the holiday nobody works
You would
Wednesday.
think that on Labor Day it would
what
be
is
like
Wednesday?
National Working Day,
Yeah, that's what I thought. I always hear Labor Day. I go, oh, so labor, working. Yeah.
Right.
What's Wednesday?
No, never mind. That one flew over your head.
Did you get that one, Zach?
I don't know what he's talking about.
I have no idea what he's talking about either. He made a joke that he thought, you mean Thursday, the national holiday, football, start of football?
No, what I was saying is that every Wednesday is a holiday. That's all I was getting at. I was trying to make a joke that you just didn't get.
Wow.
Why is every Wednesday a holiday?
It was a joke.
Wow, that was not a joke. That's just like something you came up
Listen,
with.
just because you can't pick it up doesn't make it a non-joke.
Oh, yes, us both not having
That's
any
okay.
idea what you're talking
That's
about
fine.
is a joke.
That's fine. Don't worry about it.
All
It's
right,
fine.
let's get past
Geno
Nick's.
Smith.
Let's get exactly. Anytime you say something dumb, just say Geno Smith. You're fine. You'll bring it around. All right, let's get past your comment or joke or whatever it was, and we're going to talk about some teams from last night that aren't the Buffalo Bills. I know, Bills fans, we're sorry. There are other football teams. We're going to talk about rookie quarterbacks because there are 4 that have interesting roles and interesting paths to the NFL We're going to talk about how all 4 of them are being handled, and that would be Derek Carr, Blake Bortles, Teddy Bridgewater, and some guy in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Some guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Not going to really talk about him.
You know what? I said this to you earlier. I think what's really interesting is the guys that you're not hearing a lot about are the ones that are actually developing very well in the preseason.
And that would be who?
We have Derek Carr, who showed up pretty nicely last night. It was a backup defense, but certainly
Still,
did what
okay,
he was supposed
Seattle's
to do.
backups are probably, and the system,
Well,
the system alone in Seattle is a very, very good one.
Okay, but if he went up against the starting defense in Seattle,
He'd
they would
probably
have
get
crushed.
crushed.
They would've
Backup
crushed him.
defense is usually more capable than the backup offense, I would say.
Yeah,
Correct.
sure. And then Teddy Bridgewater had a fantastic preseason. It doesn't, but it doesn't look like either of these guys were slated to be the week 1 guys. Derek Carr, I think, is probably leading that category because of the injury to Schaub.
I actually think it's a blessing in disguise that Schaub is injured because Dennis Allen basically said from the week 1 of the preseason that, Schaub's our guy. Then all of a sudden has the elbow issues, couldn't really throw the ball. Now he's going, okay, if Schaub's injured, we're definitely Carr is going to be our guy. So that makes sense.
Think about what that does for a young player, a rookie like that. It makes them work harder. It makes them realize that the opportunity is only going to be there if they put in the time and the effort. And it makes them know that there's something to reach for. As opposed to Johnny Manziel, who was given the opportunity and he was said to be a 50-50 shot versus Brian Hoyer, and he really blew it. He hasn't put in the hard work. He hasn't put in the effort. He was too busy doing Snickers commercials and partying in Vegas.
I was going to say, he put in the work at the tables in Vegas.
So he's making money, but he's not going to be on the field to start week 1.
I think there's also a hidden value going on here that we haven't really discussed with the backup situation, with taking your rookies and kind of leaving them back there a little bit. A lot of times when you have the draft and you draft quarterbacks, it's because your team is god awful, right?
Yeah, all four of these teams are god awful.
And you got to think about what damage it might do to a young player that is trying to get his foot in the league and trying to establish himself by basically throwing him to the wolves. Which, when you have a bad team, when you don't have the offensive pieces in place, you don't have the kind of running game that can dictate the game and keep him out of harm's way, you can greatly damage him emotionally, I would think, and mentally. I think we've seen that historically with some of the players that have come in and just say, well, here's an awful team, we're going to let you just go, and they don't really establish that mental strength early on.
So based off what you're saying, the only good situation of any of these 4 quarterbacks is Teddy Bridgewater because he has the best running back in football.
Yes.
Other than that...
Yes, but he's also got one of the best quarterbacks in front of him out of this group.
I was going to say, I was hoping you were going to say out of this group.
What I will say, though, is that I still believe that getting your nose dirty is a little bit important as well. Blake Bortles, I just feel like that's the one situation where you got to let him go. You got to let him be the starter because
what else is
it's
there?
not going to help him to be behind Chad Henne. Chad Henne isn't going to teach him anything that he doesn't already know. The only thing he needs to know is how do you avoid pressure? How do you deal with pressure in the NFL, and then he needs to grow with the guys around him.
Yeah, my
I don't
biggest...
think Chad Henne can teach him anything.
No, I don't.
my question is,
I think Blake Bortles has already shown that he's better.
A guy that
way
has
better
had
than
a
him.
lot of starting experience in
Not
this league.
good
Yeah,
starting
that's great.
experience.
It hasn't
doesn't
been
matter.
good.
It doesn't matter if he's not.
I don't
good.
think it helps.
Well,
I don't think it helps at all.
Nick, why would you draft, if you're Jacksonville, why would
Chad
you
Henne's
draft...
arm is jello.
Why would you draft the most NFL-ready quarterback according to basically everybody? Why would you draft the most ready guy and then stash him? If you were going
Well,
to do
if you're doing what
this...
Zach says, if you're doing exactly what Zach said, if you're going to let him grow and not feed him to the wolves right away, where that can actually hurt him, because then it gets into his head like, man, everything that I'm doing is wrong. There's nothing I can do that's right. And I get that. I do. But at the same time, I think that Jacksonville is that situation where there's so many young pieces to the puzzle. You let them grow together because they know they're not going to get anything done this year. So it's like, okay, let's learn this together. We're going to make mistakes together. Everything is as a unit instead of in pieces.
Do you know who their most veteran offensive player is right now? It's Toby Gerhart. Like, actual piece. Everybody else is young on that team.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you let them grow? I just don't understand it.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think that in Minnesota, it's a different situation because you have Adrian Peterson, Greg Jennings, and even Kyle Rudolph. Those guys have all been playing. They might have a shot at actually doing something. And in this situation, Teddy Bridgewater can sit back and watch Matt Castle, who has been a winning quarterback, actually perform with those guys.
I just think that they would know the right approach more than we do.
Well, that's why we're sitting in these chairs
and we can. I mean, we can disagree with it. We can look at it a slew of different ways, but by not this season is in the tank. We already know that for the Jaguars. Mm-hmm. By taking a few games and letting him see what's going on out there and kind of get some of that experience. I really think he can get some experience through Chad Henne and learn some things just by being on the sidelines.
Yeah, he'll learn what not to do.
You can't overestimate head games. You really
you're
cannot.
Right. You're right.
And I think there are, if you think that he's ready, if you think that he's mentally ready to go in there, then yes, I agree, because he needs to grow in the offense. But if you don't think he's mentally ready, I wouldn't just throw him out there.
All right.
Well, but they capped that before the season even started. They said he's not going to start.
I didn't agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Before we move on, I want to ask you, which of these 4 rookie quarterbacks do you think actually has the most impact in a football sense this season?
Blake Bortles.
I don't know. I might lean
good impact.
Yeah, like actual positive impact. No,
we're not just talking about playing time here.
Making an impact as in look how good blah 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 was this season.
I think there's a good chance Johnny Manziel gets the most playing time.
Well,
doesn't look the best though. I think it's going to be Carr.
Yeah, I was actually going to say I think Derek Carr might actually have a pretty good chance of being a positive impact because Schaub does not look good.
Yeah,
I retract everything positive I said about him earlier this season.
And
he looks horrible.
You can't pull a rookie quarterback for a guy like that. If they're doing poorly through 6 weeks, they're going to stick it out with Carr.
You also have to remember that Schaub got paid.
Yeah, that's true.
He got paid.
Politics.
Okay, but his arm doesn't work anymore. How do you use a quarterback whose arm is like noodle?
Money in politics, it doesn't matter.
It's a noodle. Oakland fans will murder him during the game.
A noodle that they paid millions of dollars for.
A very expensive noodle. That's not good.
The real answer is that I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think the NFL
and we'll never know.
I really don't think the NFL knows either.
Who's going to be the best? I have no idea.
It might be Bridgewater, might be Bortles. I don't know. All right, we got to move on to the St. Louis Rams of St. Louis. All right, they play in St. Louis. Is that a correct statement? They don't play in L.A.? Everyone's apparently already put them in L.A.
I do not like you, Sam. I am.
Well, apparently we're not going to talk about Sam Bradford at all. The big thing we have to talk about with this team is obviously Sam Bradford tore his ACL, so this whole preview is pretty much for naught. We think this team's going to win 4 games, right?
Well, I'm really disappointed that Bradford's gone because I thought that this was his last shot.
It is.
It really was his last shot.
He's due to make $13 million next year. He's gone.
I don't think there's any way you can hang on to a quarterback like this anymore for that price.
Nope.
It's definitely over. I think he's played his last
game. He's gonna be making minimum backup money next season on some team as a project. On actually probably one of those 4 teams we just mentioned before.
Truly unfortunate for a Heisman Trophy winner, first overall pick, to be given absolutely no opportunity in the last 2 seasons. Just stinks. But it is what it is.
Do you think what do you think he would have been?
This season? I don't know. I think that the floor has kind of worked its way up a little bit.
But even when he was in, I never felt that impressed by him.
No. But you never got a full look at him.
Yeah, name the best. I think we talked about this the other day when he went down. Name the best player he's played with. The best weapon he's had. It's been nothing. You can't even name a guy. He didn't have Isaac Bruce. He didn't have any of those guys.
Steven Jackson?
Yeah.
Okay, again.
That's about it. I don't know. Yeah. I couldn't say.
That didn't positively impact his numbers is what I'm saying. Steven Jackson, okay. Yeah, he's a running back. Great.
Tavon Austin?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure.
Well, whatever.
I don't really remember all the Rams
because they just haven't been prominent over the past few years.
Since Kurt Warner.
Regardless, now we have Sean Hill, whose career numbers are actually better than Sam Bradford's. So
that's sad.
It is. He's 34 years old, so this is going to be an interesting look at. He hasn't played in 4 years. He hasn't started in an NFL game in 4 years.
Well, he's going to get 16 of them this season.
He got a good reign in Detroit for a little while, and he had some decent games. I think that he's
4 years ago, though.
Oh, I still think that he's capable. I can see this team winning 6 games.
Hold on, he doesn't have. Okay, he had Calvin Johnson on that team. All you do is you go, Throw it up to him.
It's what Matthew Stafford does best.
I know, but I'm saying on this team, who is he throwing the ball up to? Tavon Austin? Okay.
Kenny Britt.
All right.
What's his name?
Yeah, that guy.
Cook?
Givens?
Brian Quick.
Oh, Brian Quick. Brian Quick has been wowing people, supposedly.
Yeah, he was wowing Sam Bradford.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Sam Bradford's
Well,
not
all
there.
the reports about Brian Quick are very, very good, and he's that type of big. He does have big talent. He just hadn't put it all together yet. And from what I've heard, he's a good late round flyer. But we'll talk about that later.
I think we will, but I think we're not going to be agreeing on that.
Well, we'll see. I mean, because you got to remember, Sean Hill is not. He's not just lofting up deep balls on this team. He's going to be throwing short passes, and if there's a guy that plays the short passing game well.
Depends if
they're
I
gonna
have
be
a
valuable.
20-man roster. If it's 16, then maybe I don't roster.
I was just say, if I have a
If I have a
25-man
20-man
roster, I'm
roster,
considering it.
I'm giving him a look.
All right, we have plenty to talk about this St. Louis Rams team. Coming up after the break, I think we're probably going to get to maybe talking about the defense, that defense that was really good last year and sacked a lot of people and did all that good stuff.
I don't know that they were that good, though.
Okay, overall they were about middle of the pack, but they were playing in a pretty tough division with some good offenses.
Not really.
No?
Nope.
Wow, you were just going to crap all over my comments, aren't you?
Well, Seattle's offense stinks. San Francisco's offense stinks.
God, you
and
were just
Arizona's
so
finally coming out.
negative. All right, coming out the break, we are talking more about these St. Louis Rams and some mock draft Monday on Friday. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Nick, only on The Team.
We are back, and for some reason, we're still talking about the St. Louis Rams, a team that, done.
That boy Kenny Britt, yo.
Okay. You don't want to talk about the defense because you think they're a pile of crap, but I'm pretty sure.
I do not think they're a pile of crap. I think they're just a pile.
Okay, let's talk about the defense for 2 seconds. They had 2 first-round picks because they're bad. This is a very bad team. I don't even know how'd they get the second first-round pick. They must have traded for it.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, they got Aaron Donald, who's apparently a pass-rushing machine for the defense. Mm-hmm. To go along with Chris Long, who's had 33 sacks in 3 seasons, those are pretty darn good numbers. It's just their secondary is kind of not good. Well, their front 7 is pretty good.
Yep.
Probably a top 10. They were top 10 against the rush, but other than that, their secondary is going to need to step it up a little bit.
They're probably going to be on the field a lot this year.
That's what I'm saying. I think that was actually the reason, because earlier in the season when Bradford was in, the defense was a top 10 defense, and it sort of slipped as soon as, the offense was playing 4 minutes a game, and defense was forced to stay out. Anytime you have a defense on the field for 65% of the game, you're going to have a not-so-good offense or defense.
That's why they need to keep Michael Sam. They need some depth.
Yeah, if he doesn't make the team, there's something weird going on.
And
there.
I would expect that they won't be very good.
What, the team overall?
The team overall,
Yeah,
but the defense will have to be on the field a lot, I would say. I mean, unless Sean Hill is able to show us something crazy. And usually when a player comes in and does that, you get those first couple weeks and everybody starts getting excited that this guy might actually have rejuvenated himself, and then it falls right off the cliff.
Yep, that sounds about right. All right, so that's all we need to talk about the defense, but they'll be okay. They're going to be on the field way too much, but oh well. We need to move on to the offense because, man, their offensive line, they got some nice pieces on this line. The biggest one, obviously, Greg Robinson was drafted, 4th overall, something like that. But I think the bigger one is Jake Long's coming back.
Yeah.
Jake Long tore his ACL in December for this team. That's probably why Sam Bradford got knocked out, didn't have his best offensive lineman in the game when he got knocked out. Makes a lot of sense. But I don't know how healthy he'll be. He tore his ACL in December. That's an injury that you don't just come back immediately from. I wouldn't be surprised if they hold him out. He just made his debut last weekend. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sam Bradford tore his ACL halfway through the season last year, so I think we've already seen the effects that an ACL tear in the middle of the season can have. And Adrian Peterson made us all believers that you can come back from an injury even though you're
not
injured
human.
in week 15.
Evidently the Bills are trying to do that as well. I'm not sure why they're thinking that.
Yep.
Because they did not put Kiko Alonso on IR.
Seriously?
Yeah. No, he is not on IR.
Are they really thinking they're going to win like a lot of games and they're just like, oh, yeah, he'll be back?
And then they're going to have him for the playoffs?
I don't know what they're thinking.
Playoffs, that's a word I haven't heard in a long time.
It was like one of the brightest spots of the preseason was that he wasn't going on IR, which is just medically unrealistic anyways, so I don't know why I got excited.
Maybe
I thought a miracle had happened.
Maybe they hate all their players that much they're going to cut an extra player so that he doesn't have to go on IR. That's probably what they're going to do.
Go
well,
Bills.
as far as St. Louis is concerned, the addition of Greg Robinson is huge. I mean, everything that we heard about him coming out of college,
Beast.
Absolute beast. He looks like he should be primed, and that's going to help a lot because this team is not going to have a lot of opportunities on offense. They're going to be running the ball a heck of a lot.
They
this
should
year.
have a great offensive line. The biggest thing that we saw that took place here when Sam Bradford went down is that Zach Stacy's stock just went up.
Yep.
Yeah, he was. What an absolute. I mean, this team going into the season last year, the two names we heard as sleeper potential were Daryl Richardson, not on the team anymore, and Isaiah Peed, nowhere to be found.
Yep.
So I believe a certain man named Seth Young was extremely high on Daryl Richardson going into last season, and we said that's a horrible idea.
Actually, you know what? It's funny that you
He's on
mentioned
the Jets. He's on the Jets.
I was looking up. I was looking up drafts from last season, and Daryl Richardson was getting drafted in the
4th round, right?
Early 5th, late 4th round.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was absolutely insane.
I thought
with Chris Ivory as well.
I didn't think he was going to end up being the guy. I actually did have my eye on Zach Stacy last year.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. And that's one of the reasons that I ended up with him in our fantasy league.
Yeah, well, he is primed. He's ready to go. There's some reports coming out about Benny Cunningham, though.
Yeah,
Okay,
this shifting always happens, and I guess Trey Mason and his blocking duties and a couple other things, it's just not coming together. So Benny Cunningham has risen up as that second guy, and he's been pretty impressive. But
let's be fair. There's going to be a lot of workload for this team because, like you said,
Yeah.
Sean Hill's under center. They're going to be running the ball, short passes, maybe some screening.
Yeah.
I think both of these running backs could actually have a big fantasy impact
it
this
looks
year.
like Benny Cunningham has graduated to the handcuff. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk about Trey Mason being that guy. Do you guys remember watching Auburn last season? Auburn was a rushing team. That's all they knew how to do. So when they handed off the ball to Trey Mason, there were enormous holes for him to run through. I don't think he's gonna translate that success into the NFL in his first season. So I'm not surprised that he is third on the depth chart.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Rookie running backs, what are you going to do there?
They're hit or miss.
Unless you get them to specifically be the guy, and then in which case you just put him in.
You should feel like you're getting a very reliable guy in Zach Stacy, I think, and somebody
Absolutely.
that can also contribute in the passing game.
Yep.
He
completely agree.
He definitely had a passing game. He was part of that.
I think he should be ahead of his third round ADP. I think he should be in the second round.
Well, do you think that hasn't really been affected by Sam Bradford going out yet?
Well,
like
the
he
only
should be
thing
trending up,
exactly.
right?
He should, but I've seen him going down. He's been
And
going down.
We talked about Ellington yesterday. I think it applies similarly here, is that he's just being underrated, and I think it's primarily because he's not a big-name guy yet.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I mean, Ellington is getting the same treatment from fantasy drafters, and you're seeing guys like Doug Martin, everybody knows, not to say that he won't have a great season. That's definitely possible. Arian Foster also there above Stacy and above, right there with Andre Ellington.
Yeah, I'm seeing Shane Vereen as the 14th. He's right ahead of Zach Stacy right now. I would draft Zach Stacy ahead of Vereen, Foster. I think Ellington and him are on the same page right
I
now.
love Vereen this year, so
Do you
I don't know.
really?
Yeah.
More than Stacy?
Oh, absolutely. Ridley he's worn out his welcome. James White is a rookie. I think Shane Vereen is going to be in the game a heck of a lot more than people are giving him credit for. But Zach Stacy is right there with him because he's going to get the handoffs. He's going to get the goal line carries. He's going to have every opportunity to score a touchdown.
That's why I think
I think both of them are.
I like the fact that I can rely on Zach Stacy's opportunity. That's a big difference for me with Vereen. Vereen didn't really demonstrate. I mean, granted, he was injured for a chunk of last year. He didn't demonstrate to me that he can be the constant up-the-middle guy. He's going to get a ton of catches, which is huge for PPR.
Yeah.
But I like the reliability of Zach Stacy.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. He's not going to get those up the middle handoffs.
Let's put Zach Stacy against Gio Bernard because last night Gio sat out for rest, whatever. Jeremy Hill had 26 touches and looked really good.
I think he totaled 160 yards.
There were reports before this game that Jeremy Hill was going to get some go this season. He was going to get a lot of the touches. Do you think this last game helped that? Do you think it's a reality?
I don't think so. I think that there's one thing that people are overlooking. In the 4th preseason game, the backups are the primary starters. So Gio got held out, and he was always going to be held out. I think that's more of a positive for Gio Bernard because that just shows he is the guy. He is going to be the guy. Sure, Jeremy Hill's going to get a few touches. I think 10 touches a game isn't out of the realm of possibility or what's to be expected. But I think Giovanni Bernard is set, ready to go.
Yeah, there's a difference between staff coming out and saying they want Gio Bernard to get 300 touches and saying they'd like Jeremy Hill to contribute.
Yeah.
There's a difference between that. I think he's a handcuff, and if something happens to Gio Bernard, then you've got what looks like a number 1 guy coming right into his place. It's a little concerning because now he's starting to edge up towards that late 9th round spot.
Yeah.
Which that's a big pick to cough up, but I think if you do get Gio Bernard, you might want to try to do that.
It is very positive news for Jeremy Hill that he did so well with a big opportunity like that. I just think that you need to remember Gio is the man in Cincinnati.
That is very true. All right, let's talk about the remaining members of the St. Louis Rams from a fantasy perspective. Sean Hill, no thank you. Not talking about him ever again. Never mentioning him on this show. See you later. What about the receivers? Because there was some sleeper buzz on this team. Zach, I know you liked a couple guys here. What do you think about this team now with Sean Hill?
I mean, I think that what we've seen is that Tavon Austin is a little bit of a flop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. Last season, why were people drafting him in like the 6th round?
Yep.
Stop it.
Yep.
We talked about it on our show last season. Do not buy into the hype of these rookie wide receivers.
I was just going to say those exact words, buying into the hype. This Cordarrelle Patterson hype is crazy.
It is.
I mean, him going in the 4th round is nuts because there is nothing. There's no proven resume here.
Wait, didn't you guys say you liked him, but only if you get him late?
I like him, but not in the
right?
4th round.
6th, 7th?
Yeah, maybe the 7th.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But he's never going to be on the board there.
I just don't
Never.
understand how you can take him ahead of guys like Torrey Smith and Reggie Wayne
Nope.
when those guys have been proven to be 1,000-yard receivers. They have situations that are good for them.
I mean,
I just don't understand.
Alshon Jeffrey went so late last year.
Yep.
Kendall Wright went really late last year. Those are the spots where you want to say this is a guy with great sleeper potential.
Yeah.
Cordarrelle Patterson is a guy with great sleeper potential.
But he's not being drafted that way.
He's not a sleeper anymore.
Yeah, we have to say that. Wide receiver is the deepest position this season. Do not waste picks on guys that just have way too much hype that you should be getting 4 rounds later.
Tavon Austin, you're just not going to get that production out of him. And now he's hurt even more. I mean, there's not a lot of talk going on about him. He's a unique weapon in different situations, but he is not a constant go-to guy. He's not a route runner.
Yep. Anytime you look at players like this, you got to look at how many arrows up and how many arrows down they have. There are too many down arrows with him. The one that I will say is kind of a positive for him is that he's going to be the 3rd receiver. He might play in the slot, and maybe that's going to benefit him now that Bradford's out.
By the way, that was the weirdest way I've ever heard pros and cons lists said.
Okay, fine.
Up arrow, down arrows.
Okay, I'm sorry, John.
You've been looking at too many draft lobbies. You see the up arrow, down arrow on StarFantasyLeagues.com.
You're right, I have. I've been studying. You're right. My bad. I'm sorry about that.
The arrow is down. I think that's fair to say.
Why is that a bad thing?
I'm just saying.
How did that mock draft work out for you, buddy?
I think we're gonna
slam.
We're gonna get to talking about it because we actually had a bigger run with the St. Louis Rams than I thought we'd had. So we're gonna talk about mock drafting in the last segment. But any closing parting words for players you're interested in on this team?
All the excitement about Kenny Britt and Brian Quick, which there has been, that Kenny Britt is kind of getting back into form. He looks a lot better.
You know why? Jeff Fisher. Drafted by Jeff Fisher. He's back with him.
Which is fine with me. I think there's a chance that one of these 2 guys, emerges as relevant.
Yep.
As relevant. I don't know which one it's going to be.
Yeah, that's the problem. They're waiver wire guys.
Kenny Britt, arrow up.
Great. To be fair, I think we called Kenny Britt what did we call him on the show last year? The man formerly known as Kenny Britt, I believe.
Yeah, he has been a shell of himself with all the injuries that he's dealt with, but he is coming into this year healthy. And I've read nothing but good things on Brian Quick. This guy, he's very big. He's very fast. And if he can put it together, then he'll be a prime receiver in this league. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the same guy throwing to him now.
Big arrow up. Fast. Arrow
Big
up.
arrows up for everybody on the St. Louis
Sean Hill,
team.
arrow down.
Exactly.
Sideways arrow. Turn right, turn left.
Yeah, who knows who's actually going to be starting this team? They may get somebody in free agency. I don't know. They might just grab somebody. Who knows? Only the St. Louis Rams do in front office and management, all that good stuff. And coming after the break, it's time for Mock Draft Talk. And you listen to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
All right, guys, we managed to spend way too much time talking about the St. Louis Rams, so much so that we couldn't talk about mock drafting for a whole segment. But you know what? We're going to talk about mock drafts now, but first we're going to give you the biggest bonus ever offered by StarFantasyLeagues.com. It's called Free 14, FREE14. It's 100% to $2,000 and an $11 credit directly in your account. You can use that credit as soon as you deposit to join a season-long league, a daily league. You can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, now is the time to go crazy
It's
on
drafting.
fantasy
Yeah, it's
football.
drafting
It is here.
time.
Yeah, I got drafts this weekend. I'm going to be getting ready for the daily scene all next week.
The best part about StarFantasyLeagues.com's season-long platform, it's not private games. You don't have to put passwords, but you can create it if you just want to play with your friends. But if you just want to join some season-long leagues, head over to StarFantasyLeagues.com. Join the lobby. There's drafts going every 30 minutes right now, and they're getting joined because it's about time for the season to start.
Yeah, there's always. I mean, I know because I've been in this situation where I've been driven crazy by people that are running their own league and they're collecting the money. We have all of your money collected securely. You're going to get paid out. It's all going to happen as soon as the season ends. You don't have to worry about chasing somebody down to give you your money. I didn't get my money in June this past June in one of my leagues.
That's just awful. All right, so we need to talk about mock drafting really quickly. Mock drafting, regular drafting, obviously you try some different things, but what is the biggest late round strategy that you can employ on these guys?
I'm looking at right now where the running backs are going. These backup running backs that are rookies that have a fairly big ceiling and could be exciting if one of the guys ahead of them goes down. I'm looking at those guys in the 11th and 12th round. When it gets a little bit later, I'm usually taking some flyers on some guys that I think could be real big impact receivers.
Yep. A big name that I've been seeing going in those rounds, Marquise Lee, who I think actually has some pretty good sleeper potential. I know, again, rookie wide receiver, but the wide receiving core on that team is a mess.
Yeah, and well, especially in a keeper league or a dynasty league, you want to get those guys in the late rounds. I think the biggest strategy in the late rounds is to wait on your defense and your kicker. It does not matter until the last two rounds.
Yeah, why?
Because you will be streaming those guys all season long.
Right.
Yeah.
For us at this point with how far we've gotten along in fantasy, that's almost just rudimentary for us.
It should be
that we're going to do that.
It should be a no-brainer, but still.
It should be, but it is worth discussing because so many guys are like, well, the Seahawks D was so good and they got so many points last year, I'm going to take them in the 10th round. It's crazy to spend a pick on that.
It really is.
It's crazy.
Going into last season, did you think it was going to be Seattle number one? Oh, wait, it was Kansas City number one. So somebody got Kansas City in the very last round with the 8th pick towards the end.
It's a crapshoot.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've done a lot of analysis on this in the offseason, looking at the impact of different types of players and defenses and kickers. Defenses are slightly more consistent, and I mean it's almost negligibly more consistent than kickers. Kickers are a wash pretty much in terms of year-to-year production. Defenses are pretty much the same.
Yep.
I mean, and like we said on the show yesterday, if you look at different defenses, there can be a defense that is top 5 in the league in terms of how they are performing when we're looking at where they are in the pass, where they are in the rush.
Yep.
But in terms of fantasy production, you have no idea.
Yep. They have to be able to get sacks.
You got to get turnovers. You got to get TDs.
So you really never know.
Yeah, giveaways, takeaways, those are the big things you have to pay attention to. Like you said, good defenses could just not put up fantasy points.
Who's going to emerge as this year's opportunistic defense? Who knows?
I know who's going to emerge this season. StarFantasyLeagues.com is the best place to play daily and season-long fantasy football. Get in there now. Free 14 is the bonus code FREE14. 100% deposit bonus to $2,000 and $11 credit in your account immediately.
Star Fantasy Leagues, arrow up.
Yes. Great. You decided to get that insult one more time. Arrow up, arrow down. Apparently my job today, I've done an arrow down job.
There's no more hyping up fantasy football because it is here.
That is right. And if you are not playing daily fantasy football and season-long fantasy football on StarFantasyLeagues.com, you're not doing fantasy right. Take it easy, guys.